Yo, what's up guys, I'm JD from Affinity Collective and welcome to our first ever PC build guide. Since Skylake was just announced in August and I happen to spend large amounts of money in terrible ways, we have for you today a Skylake i7 6700K gaming and editing rig. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's go over our parts. For our CPU, we are sporting Intel's latest 14nm i7 6700K processor. The 6700K sports a 4.0 GHz base clock which turbo boosts to 4.2 GHz. It has 4 cores with hyperthreading, giving us a total of 8 threads and an 8 MB cache. This processor will provide plenty of power for both gaming, editing, and rendering. I recommend making sure all the parts are working before you put them into the case. Using the motherboard box is a great bench to do this on. This helps save time troubleshooting if something goes wrong so you don't have to keep taking parts in and out of the chassis. Starting with the CPU, lift up the retention arm and match up the gold triangle with a corresponding mark on the motherboard, making sure to seat it correctly with a slight wiggle. Then, lower the hold down plate and move the retention arm back down. For our motherboard, we have an ASRock Z170 Extreme 7 Plus board, which quite frankly has too many features to list. Now don't forget to put the I/O shield into the case. To do this, just align it in the cutoff and push on all sides and corners until it is seated firmly. Next, ID the post in the case, which is usually in the middle. That replaces one of the standoffs. Then lower the motherboard into the case, making sure not to scratch the underside of the board. The post will hold the board in place as you screw in the board. For cooling, I'm using a Noctua NH-U9B SE2 heatsink. Noctua is renowned for their high-quality air cooling options and fans. Start by applying a cooked grain of rice-sized amount of thermal paste to the surface of the CPU. Follow the instructions that come with your cooler on how to install properly for your particular cooler. Note that a push-pull setup for your heatsink may interfere with the first DIMM slots on your board, especially if using high-profile RAM. Our choice of RAM goes along with my slight fanboy attitude towards Corsair, with 16 GB of their DDR4. Yes, I said DDR4 as Skylake has made it the norm for PC builds going into the future with Skylake. This RAM kit that we have here is running at 2666 MHz. Locate the notches on the RAM and on the motherboard DIMM slots and align them up. Then locate the retention clips for the RAM on the motherboard and pull it back. Press down firmly, making sure each side is secured until the clip pops back into place. Moving on to my preferred case, I have the Corsair Air 540. Now for this, it really comes down to preference. You can spend as little or as much as you want on the case. When researching, just make sure it has the features that you want. For instance, on the Air 540, I wanted hot swap bays, front USB 3.0, a clear side window, and great cooling, all of which I found. Plus, I love the look of it. So, as far as cases go, pick whatever one suits your needs best. Storage has us using a 256GB Samsung 850 Pro SSD as a boot drive with Windows 10 and a 1TB Western Digital Blue Series for mass storage. However, if you plan on doing large amounts of video editing and recording, I would recommend at least a 2TB drive for mass storage. Connor has a 6TB drive that he uses for video storage that are constantly filling up. Yes, now for the GPU. As this is more of an upgrade to my own system, and I just spent $700 on Skylake, well, I'm still running an HIS 7950 HD. But since you guys are not me and most likely don't want a 3-year-old GPU, a nice budget choice would be something in GeForce's new 950 lineup, such as the Asus GTX 950 Strix. If you're looking for a little more of a kick in the you-know-what, you could bump up to the MSI GeForce GTX 970 Gaming, or if you really want some power, a 980 or 980 Ti version from whatever brand you prefer. To install the GPU, unscrew the appropriate amount of PCI slots on the case, in this case 2, and store them in the box with other parts that you will not lose. Position the card into the slot and lock it into place by sliding the arm over. Rounding everything out for the system, we have a Corsair CX 500W power supply because, well guys, I was on a budget and this is what I ended up with. However, I would suggest picking up a slightly higher wattage power supply if you intend to overclock. Make sure that no matter what you pick, that it is at least a bronze 80 plus certified, which is pretty much the norm for any PSU today. Lock in the power supply by taking out the PSU bracket, sliding the power supply, making sure to snug to the base, and replace the bracket. Cable management, guys. Let's be real, it's optional. But I do suggest at least giving it half an attempt. Use zip ties or twisty ties to bundle up the cords in the back of the case, making sure they lay somewhat flat. And ta-da! You've done a better job than somebody in the world out there.
Alright guys, hey, well there it is, the higher end gaming and editing rig with the Skylake 6700K CPU. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment below on what you guys thought of this video and what you would change about this system. And make sure you leave us a like if you'd like to see more of these types of videos from us. I hope to see you guys back next time whenever I spend my money on computer parts again, because I do that a lot. So, see you guys back next time. Hope you enjoy.
Transitioning from the KitKat operating system to the Lollipop operating system, the phone now has a sleeker, more elegant user interface. This year's model has moved the heartbeat sensor from a horizontal position to a vertical position, increasing the accuracy on that. This year's camera